This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
To the highway in a brand new day. Over the rainbow, gotta let it go. So fast to freedom. Dance tonight together. Here everyone is singing. 你看到我就怕，头皮发麻，我的手。
To open the Voice Gate for December 20th, 2022. We are members of the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. You can find us on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network feed or our own dedicated podcast feed on all podcast platforms and applications. You can follow us on Twitter at Open Voice Gate. If you'd like to donate to the show, click the link in the show notes. It'll take you to our redcircle.com landing site. You click the red box that says sponsor this podcast, and you can set up a one-time or reoccurring donation. No obligation whatsoever. I'm one of your hosts. It's your old pal, Mike Spears, joined alongside, as always, my friend and co-host, Case Lowe. In Case, we both are up against it tonight.
Yeah, look, nothing says happy holidays like hitting that red circle donation button for your number one podcast for the number two Japanese promotion. Mike and I were briefly discussing before we started recording that the holiday season takes no prisoners, and you and I are both feeling it right now.
Yeah, so one of the things that I've been doing over the last few months is one of my favorite radio personalities returned to the air in Dallas-Fort Worth, and I have been listening to his drive time show pretty religiously, Case, and he has a good phrase. It's not just about getting to Christmas, it's about clearing Christmas.
Yeah.
And it's a thing. Dude, I am leaving town tomorrow morning. I am getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, getting in the car, driving down to the southern compound. But right as I woke up this morning, my door broke.
Like your front door?
My back door.
Okay,
my
all right.
door.
Still not good.
Still not good. So I'm leaving town tomorrow. And the thing is that it was a situation where the door would like wedge shut and then not open. So it was the best of this case of scenarios. You much rather have a door that cannot open than a door that can't stay shut, right? Especially like back door, front door, right?
Yeah.
So had to pull up get a handyman because I'm handy, but like doors, I'm not. I am no.
That's a blue collar job. You work in video editing. Fixing a door is a blue collar job. There's no shame in that.
I am very handy, I'll let you say, because I paid for a handyman look at it, and he said, "Well, I managed to make sure that it didn't stick anymore, but your knob is busted, man." So I went and had all that happen to me before 8 a.m. But you said like I only do like the fancy stuff. Like I don't get my hands dirty. I then went out and bought a doorknob and installed a new doorknob. So
there you go.
But it was one of those things I was like, I just really, really like, of course you're going to tell me this at this. Like that is the holiday I'm having this year. So who's to say what will happen to me on my drive?
Yeah, mine's not much better as the Midwest and Chicago specifically prepares for what should be pretty terrible weather. Later this week, it drastically threw a wrench in my holiday plans. I'm not super stoked about it, but nevertheless, we have two shows to talk about and one show to preview because we have hit the end of the year in Dragongate, and it's been a very exciting time, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's right. It's so Dragon Gate's 2022 will conclude on the 27th. This week is basically the last regular season Open the Voice Gate of the year in a way. But we've got two big shows to talk about. The final Korakuen of the month and for 2022 from the 16th. And then also they went up to Sendai. And when they're up in Sendai, it's time for a Gate of Origin. And we'll try to make sense of Gate of Origin. But first off, Case, the Korakuen Hall show that we had on the 16th, it was a headline by KZ and Shun Skywalker. You had a challenge match, and then you also further down the card, a lot of just like interesting stuff happening right now in the promotion. 1180 for attendance. So they did 2 shows and 2,400 seats. So pretty strong month for Dragon Gate in Tokyo. What were your big takeaways from the show?
Well, I was going to talk about that attendance for a second. So the December 6th Korakuen show with Mochizuki versus Yoshioka as the headliner, that did 1206. And then, like you said, this show on December 16th, 10 days later, with the KZ versus Shun main event, did 1180. So what's that, a 26 fan difference or so? I found the number on the 6th, that Dreamgate show, that was right in the ballpark of where I was expecting. If they wouldn't have hit 1,100, I would have been concerned. If they would have hit 1,300, I would have considered that to be a grand slam. 1,200 is right in the ballpark of where they should have been. Obviously, we've seen, with the exception of the Kness retirement show this year, which did a complete sellout, 1,450, one of the biggest attendances in Korakuen Hall of the year. We've seen gradual growth throughout Korakuen Hall this year in Dragongate, and 1180 is, I believe, again, with the exception of that Kness show and with the exception of the Dreamgate show, the most attended Dragongate Korakuen Hall show of the year. And you look at those last 2 matches, it's Benkei and it's Hyo and it's Yoshioka and it's Skywalker, the guys of the class of 2016. It's KZ, who, obviously debuted 10 years before that, but you could make an argument wasn't a relevant wrestler in any sort of box office capacity until 2015. And then you have Minorita, who was class of 2021. I have a lot of positive things to say about Minorita, as I have had for months now on this episode. It is just another tip of the cap to Yuki Yoshioka, to this roster as a whole, but I really think Yoshioka, they have steered the course in such an impressive way. They have righted the wrongs that were made earlier this summer. Attendance has only gone up with Yoshioka. It has gone up in every market. It has gone up drastically in some cases. He, as the Dreamgate champion, has been a box office success. And by the time we talk next week, he might not be Dreamgate champion. We will see. I think there's an interesting discussion to be had there. But nevertheless, a continued box office success in the post-COVID, mangled, depleted industry that it is. Dragongate continues to chug along, not only in Tokyo, but in really all of their key markets.
Yeah, and I was anticipating for this second Korakuen case, I was anticipating a pretty big slide, because when you take away the last few years, the second Korakuen of December has always been known as like the Doi Darts Korakuen. It's always like the fan appreciation show, but they've already done that. And this was just on the backs, as you were saying, class of 2016 and the new generation at the forefront. And it was something that, Case, actually I had a question I was going to ask you. If it wasn't for us like bringing it up, would you have gone through this month without remembering that there should have been a Doi Darts match?
Oh, I'm almost on the flip side of it, to where, look, if Doi brought out the Doi Darts wheel, I think that's awesome. I'd be for it. I'd celebrate it. I'd be happy about it. It's not needed in terms of storytelling or depth anymore. I mean, it really does feel like a product of a bygone era, and you would probably know better than me. I mean, is the last time they did it 2019?
Yeah, it would have been 2019, because they definitely didn't do it in 2020, and the last year they didn't do it as well. I think it's 2019. So it's getting to...
And even then, sorry to cut you off there, but I also, we've never heard one way or another. It could just be a thing where they're either they don't want to or are not allowed to have kids come into the ring still. That is, I think
a good point.
We sometimes forget that again, the COVID restrictions are just far more intense there than they are anywhere else. Let me look at this. December 18th. Yeah, okay. December 18th, 2019 was the last Doi Darts to our knowledge. That was the Benkei versus Strong Machine J 20-minute time limit draw disaster. And then the Doi Darts match for that year was Eita, Kota Minoura, and KZ defeating Benkei, Hyo, and Kagatora, Gamma, Genki Horiguchi, and Yamato, and Don Fuji, Konami Ichikawa, and Yosuke Santa Maria.
I forgot they did a 4-way for that last one.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, and that's probably...
I think Lenny Leonard's on commentary for that show.
That really puts us in a place and time,
because that was the one tour that was Lenny, Larry, and Jay, because they were all at Final Gate together, and it's crazy. I mean, that's the last time that there was that 3-man booth. And I really remember thinking during Final Gate and during Doi versus Ben K specifically, like, wow, Dragongate has like an elite tier commentary booth, because Lenny is still arguably the best play-by-play man in wrestling. Larry Dallas, for all of his faults, and there are many, is, I think, a very strong color commentator. And Jay was playing the role of that Mike Tenay of just spitting out hard facts and information throughout that entire show. And it really seemed like that was something in 2020 that was going to take shape and become a prominent feature of this promotion. And then, obviously Larry came back in early 2020, and then Larry Dallas was stuck in the dojo for the first 3 months of COVID. I don't think he got home until June or July of 2020, which is, I don't trust Larry Dallas enough to show up for a podcast appearance, but if we could ever book him, that would be what I'd like to talk to him about.
just Superstorm Sandy and dealing with COVID.
The relationships he formed during Superstorm Sandy, you're exactly right, and then the relationships that he strengthened during his time in the COVID-ridden Dragongate dojo in 2020.
Yeah, no, like that would be fascinating. But it just, like, overall, like, watching this show, it just, like, I know it's become a trend for us. This was a Korakuen. I actually thought it was more on the higher end work rate wise in comparison to most of the ones from 2022, but it was just something that was so remarkable to me that, like, I took a step back during the main event. I was like, no doy darts, this feels fine. And that was something I really wanted to ask you about. So any other huge takeaways?
A big picture. I think I'm lower on this Korakuen Hall show than most people, and I think I'm higher on Gate of Origin than most people. Now, I don't know if anybody cares, but if they do, I apologize. As of the time you're listening to this, there is not a Gate of Origin written review up on voicesofwrestling.com. I'm working on it. To go back to 10 minutes ago, talking about the hellacious holiday schedule that both Mike and I have put ourselves into, it's almost done. I literally have just not had the chance to sit down and write about the last 2 matches. It's coming. It'll be there at some point. Apologies for the delay if that is something people care about. But I have full thoughts that I will gladly give on this podcast.
I mean, you needed to have an emotional break after Ninja Mac won that match. So
we'll be talking about it.
Yeah, we will be talking about that in a bit. Leading off the show in Korakuen, this will be up on the network until the 23rd. You had a 8-man tag, the entire M3K, Masaki Mochizuki, Susumu Mochizuki, Yasushi Kanda, Mochizuki Jr. versus Don Fuji and the Kids. It's almost like, with all the talk about Yoshioka, it's almost like we're getting a revival of Fuji Hei over here, as Don Fuji teamed with Ryu Fuda, Kaito Nagano, and Yoshiki Kato. It was Yasushi Kanda winning with a Geku Judo elbow drop on Ryu Fuda.
I think this is a winning combination. I thought this was a lot of fun. I think anything with Mochizuki Jr. right now, the situations that they're putting him in are either against his peers in Nagano and Kato, or it's against Ishin and Strong Machine J, his generational rivals in terms of being second-generation wrestlers. And I think both of those dynamics have been super interesting to explore. This was a hot opener. I mean, this was kind of everything that you would hope for, I think, from the guys that mattered. Mochizuki Jr., Nagano, Fuda, and Kato. I felt their presence in this match. I thought they all looked very good. I mean, I have extended thoughts on Fuda later, but this was a strong opener. This is kind of what you want from a veterans versus rookies combination hodgepodge 8-man.
Yeah, no, and I mean, like, the core of the match was going to be Mochizuki Jr. versus his classmates. So, like, that was the focus of the match, other than Don Fuji losing his mind. Don really hates his best friend as a kid. That is going to be a fun thing to explore. Like, they really ought to go deep on that. Whenever Junior he's done with all the rookie stuff, they need to have a Don Fuji feud with Mochizuki Jr. But yeah, this was a blast. It did exactly what it needed to do in the opener. It was one of the more hot openers, I feel like, in the recent month.
Well, it's that Nagano charm. I mean, he was in the opener on the December 6th show, and it was outstanding. And it was kind of one of those deals where I think if more eyeballs were on that show, if more people paid attention, he deserves a bigger name than he has, which is crazy to say for a guy who's been wrestling professionally for 4 months now. But they found gold in him. I mean, it's stupid to say, given, again, the 13 trainees that have debuted since the start of the pandemic. And there's if you follow Open Voice Gate on Twitter, there's a 14th kid coming, a new rookie that is working exhibition matches on house shows now. It's absurd, but in the same way that SB Kento connected, and now it looks like Kakuta's connecting, and obviously Fujiwara connected, and Mochizuki Jr. connected, you've got to start throwing Nagano on that list. I mean, at least in our bubble, which is, the people that speak our language, that follow us on Twitter, that are in the Voices of Wrestling Discord, the primary talk, I don't want to say the primary, but a consistent theme coming out of these Korakuen Hall shows over the last few months is, did you see what Nagano did? Did you see that spot? Did you see what he did this time? I mean, that's remarkable for somebody of anybody to have it for a few months stretch like this, but especially for somebody of his experience level.
Yeah, and especially since it's such a different way than what Takuma Fujiwara we were experiencing earlier this year. It's just it's cool to see like everyone go like, "Oh, Space World, that's insane!" Like each time, and that's something that like Nagano only has to do a couple things to get the crowd on his side every time, and it's something that I was worried that he was not going to have that connection because with his size, it was going to be paramount. But boy, given that he is 3 months in and how crisp he is, you would think maybe not as much as Takuma Fujiwara, but this is a guy who has been thinking about wrestling almost all his life. You could tell.
Yeah, not on the level of Fujiwara at least yet, but somebody who is obviously, given when he debuted, I'm going to count him as a rookie in 2023, and he is the clear front runner. And it is going to take some effort by the rest of the wrestling world to pass him by for Rookie of the Year 2023, which is absurd to talk about already, but he's just been that good, and he came into the fold in late August, and so I'm going to vote for him next year. He's very, very impressive.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see him progress throughout the remainder of his rookie year. Match 2 was a special singles match. It was Kota Minoura versus Kotomawa Ichikawa. Kota Minoura won with the Bombero elbow smash. But Case, what do you feel about the Golden Carnation Kotomawa Ichikawa?
Phenomenal. Alan Forel made the point in the Voices of Wrestling Discord, for the struggles that Kota Minoura has gone through this year, the perfect thing to do was to book him in a personality-driven match against Ichikawa, and this was exactly it. I mean, everybody from myself to Jay to Mochizuki Jr. on English commentary absolutely lost their minds for this match. This was a ton of fun. It goes to show the magic of Ichikawa, and I really liked what Jay had to say at the end of the match, which, given the views that Jay shared the last time he was on the show about Minoura and how he's been a pretty harsh critic of him, he made the point of, if you can't have a match with Kotomawa Ichikawa, you can't wrestle in Dragon Gate. And in my opinion, Minoura passed the test.
Oh, absolutely. Like, the match was 3 minutes. The overall segment was 10. But, I mean, it just had me cracking up. And it was good to see Minoura able to play along with that much I mean, because you have to get to a certain wavelength to do a Stalker Ichikawa match, I would say. Match 3 was Jason Lee and Jackie Funky Kamei of Natural Vibes, along with Ho Ho Lun, not the Kobe Kung Fu Masters, versus Ultimo Dragon, Eita, and Kenichiro Arai. JFK got the pin with a Jackie knife when Araken was arguing with Yagi.
Obviously, the positioning here, the names involved, it leads us to the touch football match of the night that we often talk about so often, that 2 3/4 star Ultimo Dragon match that I've gotten so accustomed to writing about. This was a hair better than the average, dad's type 6-man tag on these shows, though. I thought the stuff with Araken and the Vibes guys, and then Eita and Ultimo together, I thought those two combinations were a lot of fun in this match.
Yeah, they provided a little bit of spice that was kind of needed. And, Kenichiro Arai, he was popping up like every month for a while, but it feels like more and more that his appearances are becoming less and less. So it was nice to see how well he could work out with the Vibes guys, and hopefully that means that we can get my main man back around more often.
Let me see real quick. I'm curious now how many Dragon Gate matches he's worked this year. Tenru Project is, at this point, his home promotion, but he worked... So he worked one of the 2 January Korakuen shows. He works the March Korakuen show, the 2 Aprils, the May, the June, the 2 Junes, the July. So he's in Korakuen every month, and then he did Kobe World and then Dangerous Gate, which is a Tokyo-based pay-per-view. So yeah, delighted that he's whenever he shows up, I'm delighted to see him.
I don't know if we're going to use delight to describe this next match, but it was Yamato versus Punch Tominaga. Punch Tominaga wearing Shingo Takagi's Dragon Gate singlet, Berserk edition, for those who are interested. Yamato just choked him out in 4 minutes.
I was delighted by this.
It was
I
funny.
absolutely died at Punch coming out of the singlet and Don Fuji rooting him on from the Japanese commentary table in the balcony.
Yeah, no, this was something where they tried to make sure that they could have Don Fuji in frame as much as possible, but Gaura, you need to get TriCaster. We need to get picture in picture on this.
Yeah, I mean, this was a lot of fun. I love the way it was set up with Punch feeling, he wrestled Kakuta last week, and then he wrestled Yamato on this show because he wants to be involved in the Shingo match, and he's not. And it's been great fun. They've done a good job of adding some depth to the Shingo match without Shingo being around.
Yeah, that part of that has been nice because Dragon Gate's the one fan base. So like, oh yeah, no, of course, Punch Tominaga is mad at that the guy who beat him up for a decade is not having him in his match. Like, of course that happens here. And notable, Punch got pants afterwards. Probably best for everyone that we're getting these two singles matches and we're not getting the third of Hulk.
Oh God, no, that'd be bad. That'd be very, very bad.
I just like, ugh. No, as soon as I thought about like, okay, he's done Kakuta, he's done Yamato. I was like, oh God, he's not going to face Hulk. Thank God there's no TV until then.
Those are just two guys. It's a little bit like when the Jaguars play the Packers in the NFL, and you're like, why are these two teams shouldn't play one another? Like, what's going on here? Punch versus Hulk is one of those singles matches that just wouldn't look right in actuality.
Oh God, it's one of the ones that does not look good in actuality and ends up with someone being concussed. Punch being concussed.
Yes, yeah, not Hulk, but yes.
No. Match 5 was a 6-man tag. Yes, this was a 6-man tag. I was looking ahead at my notebook, but this was Natural Vibes versus High End and Friends, as it was Big Boss Shimizu, UT, and Strong Machine J versus Dragon Kid, Takashi Yoshida, and Problem Dragon. This was previewing the Twin Gate match at Gate of Origin. It was Yoshida getting UT with a Pineapple Bomber in 10 minutes and 29 seconds.
Takashi Yoshida is kind of the ultimate territory wrestler. I'm assuming you're like me in the sense that, if you sit down and watch Mid-South or Crockett or I would say pre-Y2K wrestling, you're likely geared towards not looking for spreadsheet matches, for great matches, but rather for pure entertainment value. And I've hit this immense conundrum with Yoshida over the last year where do I think he's capable of being truly great in matches? More often than times, the answer is no. Am I wildly entertained by him as an underdog babyface doing whatever he can for the approval of Yamato and Dragon Kid? I absolutely am, in the same way that I was wildly entertained by him seeking Naruki Doi's approval last year. There is such immense charm to this guy and the role that he's been put in. And even if this match wasn't great by any means, one, I really enjoy the chemistry that he has with Shimizu right now. I thought he and UT were a lot of fun in this match too. And I just had a good time watching this.
Yeah, that's the thing about High End and Friends right now. Yoshida gives it just enough right now that I'm not just immediately when they're on screen, I have the countdown clock until their disbands match. It is something that it provides life. It has rejuvenated a dead unit.
Yeah, it's not too much of Yoshida, and again, at no point do I want him busting out some gold and silver tights and becoming a full-fledged member. I think what they're doing now is perfect because it's interesting. It could be bad. It's never going to be great, and we've found this sweet spot of interesting, and I really like where it sits right now.
Yeah, and especially coming out of Gate of Origin, too. I feel like that there's a lot of directions that they can go to with that. Match 6 was an 8-man tag. Naruki Doi, Shuji Kondo, Dragon Daya, Madoka Kakuta versus Z-Brats, Kai, BB, Hulk, Diamante, and Ishin. Kondo pinned Kai with a King Kong lariat. In the post-match, there was a Triangle Gate challenge. It was Doi and Kondo. Well, Kondo already went to the back. Doi was like, I want to get another trios belt. And he announced that him and Kondo and Awashi, so the T2P team, will be challenging the Z-Brats champion team at Final Gate.
What's your preferred wrestling media narrative here? Is it that Naruki Doi is forcing Dragon Gate's hand because he's on the outs with the promotion? Is it Shuji Kondo's push is upsetting the youngsters in the back? Or is it Toru Awashi is booked and therefore this show is bad?
The Kondo one is intriguing. I'm going to go with Kondo.
I mean, that was the most upset I got at any of Dave's reporting this year was, oh, there was a last second change with Shuji Kondo going far in the tournament. It's like, well, he pinned Kai, and they very clearly set up like a Kai match in the opening round, and then the title match drew a really nice number to Korakuen Hall. I don't think your reporting lines up here, Dave, but nevertheless, we're past it. I think it's cool that a T2P team is going to wrestle for the Dragongate Championship. I get the feeling that might be lost on some people, and they're going to complain about it for whatever reason. I think that's an exciting match. Doi, and I wrote this in my review at voicesofwrestling.com. Boy, Doi is just, doesn't he look rejuvenated?
Yeah, I think it's something that, how much you want to buy into the whole, I only have so many more matches ahead of me, I want to go full blast with it. He did, taking off that 2-month period before coming back to Gate of Destiny and then basically going insane with DDT and Dragon Gate dates, he's making the most of it. I don't know, the way he's looking now puts a little doubt in the retirement is impending thing right now.
I gotta say, I've got a 2005 Dragon Gate show on my TV right now, and I'm watching Doi versus Dragon Kid, and Dragon Kid just did a tilt-a-whirl head scissor off the apron that sent Doi to the floor, and I'm stunned. Just talking about Doi being rejuvenated and then watching that spot 15 seconds later, I can't believe this man moves around as well as he does.
Yeah, and I loved this 8-man tag case.
It was awesome.
I was 4 flat on this. It was just a nice number where you had 8 guys in there, but you did a lot with the 8 guys in 9 minutes. You had the Triangle Gate stuff, of course. You had Daya and Diamante. You had Kakuta really showing up here. So they accomplished a lot in this. So I adore this. And it was something also that you had Ho-Ho on commentary, just like being completely enthralled by Hip Hop Kakuta's ass. Not Hip Hop Kakuta, Madoka Kakuta. That's what he used to be. Because, boy, Kakuta, ever since that match got made, he's laying it in now.
Oh, yeah. There's a certain fire that Kakuta, he's really carried himself with since August. But now, I think being 10 days away, and at this point, 5 days away as we're recording from the biggest match of his career up to this point, he's feeling it. And I even if the promo segment with Shingo did not go the way that you and I would have drawn it up, in the ring, has there been a safer bet for great matches since August than Kakuta?
No, and it's something that he is such a unique, physical presence that it's almost like a leg up in finding ways to get me interested in it because he's naturally bigger than everyone else. So it's like an easy thing to build it off of. But he has, ever since first assisting and then joining D-Courage, it has provided a lot to him, but it does not completely wash over what happened earlier this month.
I saw a finalized list of the Fighting Spirit Magazine 50. I don't know when that is going to be published. When it is, I would like to talk about it and the placement of some of the Dragon Gate guys on the show, and then kind of compare the big list with my personal top 50. And I will just say now, Kakuta, simply based off the work he did from August through the 1st of December, made it into my top 50 wrestlers of the year. I really just thought he was next level good in quarter 3 and quarter 4 of this year. And I also think it's worth talking about Shuji Kondo for a second, because, think about, even on this show for years, you and I in DMs and Slack messages for years and years and years going, God, wouldn't it be great if Kondo would come back to Dragon Gate? Doesn't it just feel like there's unfinished business there, that he can do so much with this current roster, let alone, the enemies that he still might have from Torimon and Dragon Gate? And we saw him come in the summer of 2020, and I thought he was a ton of fun as a muscle in the Torimon generation. And then he partially tore his Achilles last year, and he went away. And, I think you and I both kind of thought, well, there's the end of Kondo as, anything worthwhile. It's just hard for a man of his size and his age to get back to a point where he can be somebody truly dominant. But every time he's given an opportunity to be in a big match, Kondo can still deliver. You think about what he did last year at Kobe World, that Triangle Gate match that was Masquerade of Dragon Dia, Jason Lee, and La Estrella versus Kondo, Owashi, and Brother Yashi. He was excellent there. He's been excellent here. So often now he's put in those meaningless, Ultimo tags, those 6 or 8 man tags on the undercard. but he can still go. And I think that's really, really impressive. And when they give him the spotlight, he takes the ball and he runs with it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that I think we both had our image of Kondo is X before Satoshi Kojima was X, and then like him and King and Gate was going to like, oh, Kondo is back. Imagine now Monster Hero Kondo. We had that so much like in our head, and that's not what reality was. So I enjoy the fact whenever Kondo gets these highlights where he gets to go and just be incredibly mean to people. Like that is one.
Do you look at his 2 years in Dragongate, which it's been 2.5, let's say 2 with the injury? Do you look at that as a disappointment?
Emotionally, a disappointment.
Okay,
I think emotionally because I really wanted to like see like Kondo never got that run in Toryumon, and he wouldn't get it in Dragongate, and yeah, All Japan and Wrestle 1, he held titles and he was a fixture and did training and all of that. But I wanted to see the Kondo run. And it's just clear that that's not in the cards because this is, if Shuji Kondo came back in 2016, we would be talking about his Dreamgate run right now. But in 2020, different promotion, they're on to the next generation. Kondo is a lot of fun when he shows up, and he's even more fun when they give him something to like sink his teeth into. And I think that Triangle Gate match at Final Gate will be like the perfect showcase of that. I mean, he's going to like ragdoll Ishin around for 15 minutes.
Okay, two points off that, because I think you bring up an interesting point of, you're right, if this was 2016, he would probably be in the mix with, Shingo and Yokosuka and Yamato and all of those guys. But this is me, and I hope this doesn't come across as grandstanding or being too much of a fanboy by any means, but I like that we cover a promotion in which Shuji Kondo, a man of his age, which I'm going to quickly look up how old Kondo is, because I really have no idea.
Can I guess 42?
He's 44. He came into the promotion when he was 42, or returned to the promotion rather when he was 42. So you're very, very close.
My bad luck from this weekend continues.
But isn't it great that we don't, like, this promotion's not rallying around Shuji Kondo to revitalize them? I like that he's like a fun side piece, but is not anything crucial to the day-to-day operations of this promotion. Like, I personally get to that. I do think two things. One, had he just had a clean finish with Kai in July, I think it would totally alter our perspective of his entire run, because that match was so good up until the Minoru bullshit. I mean, I don't know where you were. I loved Kai versus Kondo until the finish.
It was no book until the finish for me. Yeah,
I completely agree. The other thing that I want to bring up, if you've never looked at it, if you're a newer Dragongate fan, and you want to know why Shuji Kondo left the promotion when he did, take a look at the booking patterns of 2004 Toryumon. Take a look at the booking patterns of 2004 Dragongate. There is a definitive shift in the way that Kondo and all of his friends were featured once Ultimo left the promotion, and when they had an out, they took it.
Sometimes Christmas parties happen. Allegedly.
I don't know if that story is a shoot or not.
I think that at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if there were some ruffled feathers. Okay, so allegedly, at least the story at the time in 2005 was Agane Isu got fired for dereliction of duty and misbehavior at a Gaora Christmas party. Like that was.
Do you have that written down? Because the fact that you pulled dereliction of duty, which triggered a memory that was the exact phrase that was used, that is incredible that you would remember that.
Case, I can't ride a bicycle, but I remember these things. I have no need to ride a bicycle. No need. Come on, we're in 2022.
Look, I mean, the last Toryumon match is Shima versus Kondo for the UDG belt, and
right.
If Ultimo even leaves, let's say Ultimo leaves in October of 2004 instead of July of 2004, we probably get a glimpse of that, quote unquote Kondo run. And just with timing, it just never happened, at least within the context of the Dragon system. It's a shame because, this is a guy who, if a few things go his way, we're talking about somebody who has a totally different career. He's been great, but has ultimately not mattered a ton in the context of 21st century Japanese professional wrestling. Ultimo doesn't leave, or the powers that be in Dragongate like him a little bit more, or maybe he just doesn't leave in 2004 and he's there in 2005 when the promotion really starts to find its feel, we're talking about a possibly, a man changed, a man possessed, a box office mover in a way that he obviously never was. I've really enjoyed his time in the promotion, though, because like I said earlier, when he's given the chance to turn it on, he does, and I think he still succeeds. And I'm really excited for that Dragongate match.
Yeah, and not to belabor the Kondo point, if Dragongate went in 2020 and put the belt on Kondo, that's what the rest of Japanese wrestling is doing, trying to flail and find something that could, looking for a ship in the night, trying to treading water with that. But it's for the best that Kondo is not in that position because, Kondo will be gone in 5 years.
Yes.
And however, one would hope that Yuki Yoshioka would still be around in 5 years. So the decision makes sense in retrospect, but it's something that imagine us telling ourselves in July of 2020, all right, guys, sit down. Let's talk about Shuji Kondo, what Shuji Kondo you're going to be getting in Dragongate.
Yeah, no, it's worked out quite nice.
The semi-main event for Korakuen was a Dreamgate and Bravegate champions versus challengers tag team match. So we got a Mochizuki Dojo reunion as Yuki Yoshioka, the Dreamgate champion, teamed with Hyo, the Bravegate champion, versus Gold Classes Benkei and Minorita. Look, everyone has their thoughts about Mochizuki Dojo. Obviously, Yuki Yoshioka and Masaki Mochizuki, not really big fans of everyone else in it. So makes sense that Yuki Yoshioka partway towards the finish would just cold clock Hyo, walk out, and then allow the spear by Benkei so that Minorita gets the win.
Anybody that's listened to the show for a while knows one of the few things that I think Dragongate routinely misses the mark on is the, for lack of a better term, the strange bedfellows or the can they coexist tag team matches where tag team partners don't get along. I always point to at the end of April when they were doing Road to Dead or Alive tag matches. For whatever reason, I just think those matches more often than not suck. This match, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, it's something that the Prehouse and Karate Blaze just in Dragongate, weirdly enough, just never work out the way that at least how they do like in SumLL,
Yeah, completely. For whatever reason, this match I thought was laid out brilliantly. I mean, this hit every note that I would want it to hit. It made me more excited for the Bravegate match. It made me more excited for the Dreamgate match. It intrigued me on the level of Yoshioka versus Hyo and those generational rivals. It intrigued me on, God, Minorita is so fucking good at wrestling. I mean, it's crazy, and I'll make this point when we talk about Fuda in a little bit. Any one of these youngsters, these class of 2021 and beyond guys, any one of them could waltz into any other Japanese promotion, I think New Japan included, and people would go, oh, that's a guy. Oh, that's going to be somebody. Oh, who is this kid? When can we start pushing him? But they have, realistically, 8 or 9 of those guys in Dragongate right now. And Minorita has fallen victim to simply being a peer of Takuma Fujiwara. And so all of the good press that he should have gotten and deserves, quite frankly, has gone elsewhere this year. But it's been talked about in the Discord a little bit. I want to be sure I mention it here. The dueling torture rack spot was just a chef's kiss moment of pro wrestling.
It's just something that, Case, you're bringing up, and I wanted to jump in there, but I didn't want to jump in and cut off your point because you're making a great point there. It's not just like New Japan. Other promotions get the dojo cast-offs and build their promotions around it. It's happening in DDT right now.
That is DDT.
Yeah. So it is something this, but this match brilliantly laid out. Like, as you were saying, Hyo just being like, oh, Yoshioka, you do all the work here. I'm not interested in doing this. And just being like an absolute scavenger prick until the babyface ace goes, nope, I know that we're classmates, but screw you, was tremendous. Minorita just gets his ass kicked for 15 minutes, and it's beautiful. It is. I'm wondering if there's anyone who's as compelling as a classic babyface as Minorita.
My answer to that would be Dragon Dia, but Minorita is not far behind.
I would say that like Minorita because of the size, maybe a little bit more so. He's just a little guy.
Well, I was rereading my Gate of Origin 2021 review as I was typing up my Gate of Origin 2022 review, because obviously I wanted to go back and read what I read about Fuda and read what I read about Fujiwara. And then, if you remember Minorita, when he was going by Takumi Hayakawa, he was kind of an emergency debut. Kaisuke Ikuda had to pull off of a Fukuoka doubleheader. They put Hayakawa in his place, and so he debuted a little bit before Gate of Origin. But he wrestled BB Hulk on that show. And if you remember the first few months of his career, he was wrestling these big singles matches and just getting his ass kicked in a minute or two. And we all thought it was super entertaining, but we weren't really sure how that was going to progress. You and I really, really harped on the fact of like, God, this guy's so small. And he's like 5'1". He's smaller than Ray Jr. And you and I really harped on this idea of like, he's good, he's talented, he does all these things, but what are we going to do about his size? That is a hurdle that we just don't know if he's going to be able to clear. Mike, I don't know about you. I never think about his size anymore. He has found a way to carve out a style for him that is so incredibly impressive. I mean, there are guys that will wrestle their entire careers and will never be able to find that thing that makes them stick out from everybody else. And Minorita has taken what should be a giant handicap and has turned it into such a massive positive, to where, again, I'm not worried about, oh God, he's so small, what's he gonna do? As he's shown this year, he can be in the ring with Dreamgate champions, Twin Gate champions, whoever it is, and it's not goofy to watch them wrestle.
I mean, scrap or die, indeed. It's something that he has found a way. He's found a path in and really the one promotion in the world that would look at someone and I'm going to get his exact height because I want to be correct and thorough about this, but it's the only promotion I would argue in the world that would take someone of his size and shape and be like, okay, you're not a mascot. Yes, he is a mascot character, but that is at this point completely beside the point. He is 156 centimeters. So, case in feet and inches, he is, I believe, 5'1". He is technically 5'2". He's 5'2". Can you think of a promotion that would be doing this strong of a push? And it's something that it's not like he's getting like the Goldberg push. Like it makes no sense for that. But have you seen this? Someone that they've given this 5'1.5" guy, and they've just gone full bore behind him. It has been really cool to see.
Look, he very easily could have been Dragongate's answer to Marco's stunt, and his size could have been used against him, and he could have played up the most annoying tropes possible, and I could have had matches with sex toys that get him kicked off of national TV, and rightfully so. Whatever it is, he could have that could have been his future, and he has excelled so far past that. It is so impressive to watch. Again, he's simultaneously coming in at the best and worst time to be a Dragon Gate rookie, because there's so much talent here, and he's attached himself to Minoru and then has kind of excelled past that to where he is going to be a guy that we have to pay attention to for the next decade. But he's doing it alongside Fujiwara and Mochizuki Jr. And who knows what happens when Nishikawa comes back, and there's Kato, and it's mind blowing.
It is such a fun thing to see. The main event for this Korakuen Hall farewell for 2022 is a singles match. It was set up earlier this month, KZ versus Shun Skywalker. So I'll walk us through this finish. KZ wins, but this comes with a super CDJ after there is a misfire by BB Hulk with a chair shot. Mr. Nakagawa was massively taken out, and you had the Z-Brats interference the way that they've done basically for most Z-Brats singles matches, but it goes awry and KZ wins, and we're starting to get a little bit of dissension in Z-Brats.
I talked about this in my review. I went on the last 3 KZ versus Skywalker singles matches. I went 4.5 stars, 4 3/4 stars, and 4 3/4 stars. This, of course, was a massive disappointment at 4 1/4 stars. But I mean, in all seriousness, just a match that felt epic, and a match that felt like it felt fitting of the spot of being the last match in Korakuen Hall this year. There was a certain level of exhaustion in the pacing of this match and just the epicness of it. that seemed like it was carrying 12 months of weight behind it. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I was so impressed by how big this match felt.
Yeah, and it felt this big, but it still left gas in the tank for the big match.
Oh my God. I mean, again, this is this Vibe Z-Brat stuff. It's I made this argument about a month ago. Like, I kind of wish Dragongate would follow a more traditional booking pattern with this feud specifically, because the chemistry between these two units is so good. Like, as good as like some of the Z-Brats versus Gold or Z-Brats versus high end stuff was. I don't care. I don't want that. Just Z-Brats and Natural Vibes just wrestle each other on every show for the next 6 months. I'm not going to get sick of it. And we'll see what happens. You obviously now have this issue between BB Hulk and Shun Skywalker. That's going to be escalated on the first two Korakuen Hall shows of the year. You have Shun Skywalker still wanting to eliminate Natural Vibes from existence. You have Shun Skywalker wanting to eliminate High End from existence, and I'm right there behind him. There is so much stuff wrapped up in just the existence of Shun Skywalker right now. It is a compliment to him. My point this entire year has been he's the best wrestler in the world, not named Will Ospreay. And from a storyline perspective, from the angles that are attached to him, there are just not many more interesting wrestlers on earth right now.
And it's something that it allows someone who is such a natural babyface like KZ just to play in this space, right? Like it when you have someone as strong as Shun Skywalker who's doing just incredible stuff across the board, you're almost you kind of have to intentionally mess it up at this point. Like, that's the kind of stretch we're talking about Shun Skywalker starting from November 2020 at this point.
I believe I talked about this a few weeks ago, but obviously I'm doing some year-end stuff, and I'm making notes of how good certain wrestlers were this year. And the thing that continues to catch me off guard is the fact that I, after this weekend of shows, have 17 KZ matches at 4 stars or higher this year. And it's a little like, MVPs and wrestlers of the year are narrative based, and that really annoys some people, but I think that's the way it should be. Sometimes the story is that it is a guy's year, and maybe there are 2 or 3 better players in the league, but it's not their year. This is one of those deals where I have more KZ matches at 4 stars or higher than any other wrestler in the world this year. But this did not feel like KZ's year. I actually made the argument at one point that Natural Vibes as a unit was so good that KZ had somehow become the least interesting guy in the unit. And yet here he is with multiple high-level singles matches, the best trios match I saw this year, a great Twin Gate match that we'll talk about in just a minute, and plenty of multi-man matches throughout the year that I thought were just brilliant. It's bizarre how that worked out.
It's just wild. It's something where, like, Case, what my favorite thing to say is you can't tell the story of X without Y, and the MVP award is that, Yeah,
I mean, do you look at KZ, if you think about the wrestlers you've enjoyed most this year, is KZ a guy that comes to mind?
Like, that's the shame. Like, I think about wrestlers that I've truly have stepped up front for me, or remains top of my mind, and KZ is not there, but he's putting on just yeoman's work this year.
No, and, you think about Dai and Yoshioka and Diamante and Fujiwara and Shun, and I think orange just go to Ishin and Kamei as well, and all those guys have been awesome. But statistically, KZ has been every bit as good, if not a little bit better.
It's really something, and it's something that with how they set up this year with KZ, it's I don't know if 2023 is KZ time, but it does seem like that this was the reset year that it was needed to be before you go for that, especially with how his 2021 went.
I just lost the entire point I was trying to make. What I was going to say was I'm a little bit concerned about how few eyeballs might be watching Dragongate when they do a top rope Canadian destroyer onto a pile of chairs and it doesn't get snitch tagged to Jim Cornette and people of that ilk.
Do we think that KZ knows who Jim Cornette is?
I hope not. He does not need that in his life.
No one does. But that was Korakuen.
You know what I'm looking at real quick? Sorry, we'll wrap up Korakuen here real quick. I think we went longer on that than we thought we were going to. One singles match between KZ and Yuki Yoshioka and that was on a Dragongate next show. It was almost 6 years ago to the day. It was the next show right before Final Gate 2016. One singles match, and really not a lot of interaction between them, period. Obviously, Yoshioka is going through former Dreamgate champions right now, but as we talked about last week, he's running out of Dreamgate champions to wrestle. I mean, it's down to Benkei, who has got a Final Gate, Shun, and BB Hulk, which I don't think they're going to go down that road. He's going to have to get some fresh blood, and KZ has to be at the top of the list of challengers.
No, absolutely so. I do have to note that you left out Don Fuji, but for good reason.
It was Don Fuji and Ryo Saito, and then Susumu Mochizuki. But we kind of talked about the realistic names that are left are Shun and maybe Hulk.
Right. No, you're absolutely right about that. Support for Open the Voice Gate this week comes to us from HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. Case, that's why it's America's #1 meal kit. And, it's something that we're in the season right now. We've talked about how we're trying to get through Christmas and we're trying to clear Christmas here on the program. But the great thing about HelloFresh is you're able to eat better amongst all the holiday temptations. I know when I'm going down to the compound, I know I'm going to be eating like an absolute jerk case. So I'm happy for HelloFresh because their meals have 20% fewer calories than takeout. So you still have full flavor and without the guilt.
Look, Mike, some of us might be trying to finish this podcast before their dinner partner comes over so we can make chili ginger pork noodles. That is what is on the menu tonight from our friends. I was looking at that. My God. Look, I got a box of it sitting next to me. That is what's on the menu tonight from our friends at HelloFresh. Pork meatloaf parm, saucy pork burrito bowls, barbecue cheddar burgers. These are all things that I enjoy, that fill me up, and that aren't completely processed nonsense. These are healthier meals that somebody like me who needs all the help I can get needs. My girlfriend is desperately concerned about the amount of high fructose corn syrup I consume and the lack of water that I drink. HelloFresh does not solve either of those issues, but it is nice for me to have healthier options when we are together.
Absolutely. And if this all sounds great, this is what you need to do. You go to HelloFresh.com/VOW18 and use code VOW18 for 18 free meals plus free shipping. That is HelloFresh.com/VOW18 and code VOW18 for 18 free meals plus free shipping. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. And Case, as we move to Sendai for Gate of Origin, we know that you're still writing up the review for those who are looking for it. It's coming soon. It's the holidays.
I'm gonna get to it before the show expires from Dragongate Network.
Yep.
But give me a minute.
Yeah. We're not just trying to get to Christmas here on the program. We're trying to clear Christmas here. But Gate of Origin, Sendai, it's always a weird show, Case. But what were your big takeaways from it?
I really liked this show. I thought the stuff that wasn't great was quick and painless. There's one match that we'll kind of talk about at length, but I went notebook on the last two matches. I thoroughly enjoyed everything that the show offered, with the exception of really one finish.
Yeah, it's something that I was not 2 notebook matches, but Case, I was 1 notebook, 2 3 3/4 stars, and then a 3.5 star and a 3 star, and then the touch football match. So it was it was a solid show. It's just one of those things that Gate of Origin will always feel weird to me until they cement it somehow, and it did not come close to that this year.
I guess at this point it's kind of the Yamato title match show. I mean, that seems like the direction that it's headed is, whether it's twin triangle or a Dreamgate match. This seems like the show that Yamato is going to get a giant match, and I'm kind of comfortable with that becoming Gate of Origin's vibe, because the last 3 years he's been in a main event title match.
Yeah, and it's something, of course, we've talked at length about this on the program, that Yamato, he is not from Miyagi, he is not from Sendai, but he's from Iwate, which is a part of the overall Tohoku region. So this is very much feels like his hometown show, in the same way that Dead or Alive is Dragon Kids or SB Kento's, or virtually half the roster around Nagoya.
And I think the other thing is that, given that it's in Iwate, is it in Iwate or near Iwate?
It is in Miyagi, but it is near Iwate. Like I think Iwate might be like the next prefecture over.
My Japanese geography is not the strongest, but Takuma Fujiwara is from Iwate as well. We kind of talked about the importance of him last year. This is a thing that we really harped on during our Gate of Origin review, is that Dragongate is developing these youngsters from Northeast Japan, which has been starved for wrestling and has become almost wrestling extinct, really. And I was thinking earlier this week about how big of a star Takuma Fujiwara would be if he was born in Tokyo and not bumfuck Japan somewhere. But as Yamato's importance continues to subside over the years, for now it's the Yamato show. In the future, it could be one of many Takuma Fujiwara highlight reel shows.
And it was also technically Ryu Fuda's homecoming show.
That's right.
As we get into the opener, can we talk
about the attendance real quick? Because I think it's interesting.
Yeah. So attendance was 888 or 882.
Yeah, 882 this year, with the headlining match being Shimizu and KZ versus Yoshida and Yamato. Last year, and I don't remember what the attendance restrictions were. This could be one of those things where even though there were less people in the building, they sold a higher percentage of tickets. But 787 last year for Yamato versus Ben K in the main event.
Yeah, I have to look at that as like a big dub for that happening. And when you look at like Sendai and the Sendai Sun Plaza, you're basically talking about 4 or 5 promotions that run there on a consistent basis. It's Dragongate, it's Noah, it's New Japan, and then it, of course, is Sendai Girls. And then you'll get Stardom as well at the Sun Plaza. Interestingly enough, Michinoku Pro has not run the Sendai Sun Plaza since 2018.
So we kind of did this with the Nagoya market last week, where I kind of went through the building and went show by show attendance here. Let me do that with the Sun Plaza real quick. Just with what Cage Match has listed, there's been, it looks like 2 Noah shows, 2 New Japan shows, and then this Dragongate show this year. Noah ran here January 16th. They did 633 for Nakajima versus Kitamiya in the main event. And then they ran here in August for an N1 victory show. They did 505 for Kano versus Shiozaki in the main event. New Japan Best of the Super Juniors, they ran here May 18th. They did 936 for a show headlined by Hiromu versus the Good Italian Boy, Francesco and Kira. And then I did a double take when I saw this number. New Japan ran here 4 days before Gate of Origin for the Tag League show. They did 2,031 people for the World Tag League Finals with Goto and Yoshihashi versus Aussie Open. It was the Tag League Finals, but I was still astounded by how high that number was.
Yeah, that's insane. Must be a lot of fans of the Despicable Dunkzilla up in Tohoku.
Did you know, I'm looking at this Cage Match page now, did you know that, let me phrase it this way, do you know the name of the Alex Zane El Lindemann tag team?
Oh, Sauce Hearts.
I did not know that until now.
Of course. Alex Zane is living in his best reality. I just hope he realizes it.
The best possible case scenario.
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, no, it's something that, of course, like New Japan's the outlier. Whenever I talk about general Japan business, like either here on Spears of Asians, I like always have to say they operate differently because of how much bigger they are than everyone else. And that's that right there when you're more than 2.5 times the second highest attendance number recently in that building. Yeah,
because the narrative coming out of Gate of Origin last year was, hey, Dragongate's got a pretty healthy business in northeastern Japan, relatively speaking. And that can still be true when New Japan can still dwarf them in attendance in this region.
Right, exactly. So getting onto the show itself, we opened up with Natural Vibes versus hometown hero Ryu Fuda, Punch Tominaga, and Problem Dragon. Ryu Fuda lost both his homecoming and it's not technically his anniversary, but it's spiritually his anniversary match, as Jason Lee pinned him with a maximum driver in 6 minutes and 25 seconds.
I understand the impulse to face palm and go, ugh, Ryu Fuda, what's going on here? I thought he was great in this match. And
he was really spirited here.
The thing with him, he is incredibly talented. Again, if this was an All Japan kid or a Noah kid, I think people would be losing their minds at the potential he has. It just, like, it's the point I made earlier. He's competing with Minorita and Fujiwara and Mochizuki Jr. and Nagano, and all of these guys that have unfortunately just surpassed him in such a short amount of time. But I'm still bullish on the future of Fuda, just for the simple fact that I think he has so much raw talent.
Oh yeah, no, and it's something that like ever since he came back from the broken sternum and he was like showing like, yeah, there's a lot of strikers now, but do your strikers use the ropes? Ever since then, that has been enough for me to have a definite interest in Fuda. Whereas before, I was just kind of like, oh, there's Fuda here. So, and he's continued it. It's just something that I feel like it's as you laid it out to be. This is promotion where you have to be at your best or you're cast by the wayside, and it's something that it's a bummer seeing this happen in real time, basically.
The last few months of his efforts, really, he was out with a broken sternum for so long, and then he returned at World, and then kind of went away again. I have been enthused by what I've seen of him over the last few months. Again, I think there's a ton of talent there. It's just finding that one thing that is going to make him relevant again, because right now he's an irrelevant wrestler. I mean, you look at the fact that he's been in the promotion for a year, Yoshiki Kato has been in the promotion for 2 weeks, and Kato is being protected more than Fuda, and that is a very damning sentiment. Bizarre, quite frankly, in the world of Japanese wrestling, but that's where we're at. Fuda has to earn back that respect and just that relevance. I don't know how he's going to do that, but I still have stock of his because there is so much talent there.
Yeah, it's worth buying at the low for him. I feel like that if it's either in Dragongate or elsewhere, he's someone that's going to succeed. It's just circumstances, sadly.
Well, and I think, Kaisuke Okuda being gone is such a benefit to Fuda as well, because now instead of having to fight out of that shadow, that shadow's just been removed completely. So he can lean into some more kickboxer-like characteristics, and I think it's going to benefit him instead of hinder him now.
Oh, no, absolutely. So I think this is probably where we should talk about UT's injury.
Yeah, that's a bummer, isn't it?
So I noticed, like, I watched Gate of Origin after I proved to be the greatest handyman alive, but it was something that, like, early in the match, you could tell UT was hurting a lot, and he's been wrestling hurt for a while. And it came out today that on a show in Chiba, I think it was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday that during a match, UT further injured his leg and was diagnosed with a torn MCL. I kind of think it happened here, and he tried to wrestle on it because there was a weird edit at the end immediately right into Stalker's entrance, and he was not moving around great.
Okay, I'm glad you said that because I kind of thought I was just not paying attention, and then Stalker just out of nowhere appeared, but there was an edit point in the Replay Network feed.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, did you catch this live?
No, I did not.
Yeah. If anyone caught this live and knew what happened there, I did not see anything. And when it happened, and I've not seen anything since there, it just was kind of notable because we went straight into Stalker Chikawa versus Eita. Eita basically bum rushed him and then had Stalker run the ropes for 4 minutes. Stalker passed out. Eita won by passing out, I guess is what you would call it. Referee's decision.
Referee stoppage.
Yeah, I mean, referee stoppage. Yeah, that's true.
What a fun match. I mean, just, it's not going to make Eita's greatest hits tape, but goddamn did I enjoy this.
Just was a blast. It's always fun. And I think one of the things that's magical about Sakura Chikawa is he does exist in his own like little universe, and he makes people play with him in his play space. And Eita had to play with him, and I did not think of. I've never thought about the idea of someone gassing out, running the ropes, and passing out as a finish before.
No, that's the amazing thing about Ishikawa's. We've seen him for almost 25 years now, and he's still coming up with new ways to entertain us.
It's so great. It's so great. Match 3 was the original M2K, Masaki Mochizuki, Susumu Mochizuki, and Azushi Kanda versus Ultimo Dragon, Don Fuji, and special guest Gaina. And it was Ultimo Dragon penning Kanda with the Lob Midas Straw.
Should I be annoyed that Ultimo pinned Kanda here, an unaffiliated veterans team pinning M3K?
I mean, A little, but I mean, Kanda is there to take falls. Like Kanda, like if you look at M3K matches, it's always Kanda taking the fall. If they lose and it's not a consequential match, I expected it'd be Ultima over Kanda when this got announced.
It didn't sit right with me for whatever reason. Not in like a, I wasn't up in arms. Oh goddamn, Ultimo Dragon ruining my Dragongate. But it was, I noticed it, and okay, don't love that just on the sheer notion of it's M3K, and I think they deserve a certain level of protection that they didn't get here. But I can live with it. I thought this match was fine.
Mochi Fuji was fun.
Mochi Fuji was very fun in this.
Yeah, that's the only takeaway. Mochi Fuji was very fun in this. Gaina is exactly like how Gaina is, except maybe even bigger. And yeah, 9 minutes. Touch football.
On to the next.
Yeah, let's get to the next. This was a 3-way second generation war where the second generation wrestlers finally face off. Case, how long have I been calling for wanting to have all these kids just scrap it out?
Ever since Mochizuki Jr. showed up, basically.
Yeah, so we got that. It was Strong Machine J versus Mochizuki Jr. versus Ishin. Ishin won with a clutch hold out of nowhere. Real interesting heel work across these two shows between Hyo and Ishin.
What's your overall vibe on all caps Ishin right now? Are you impressed by what he's doing?
Oh, he's supplanted UT. Sorry there as my favorite wrestler to watch in Dragongate.
Really?
He is fascinating from the entrance to him unmasking himself to the way he conducts himself in the ring. This is someone that, like, I went on about this before. For everyone who says, like, oh, James Dean, someone that's the rebel hell cause. No, you want to have your youth be dead behind the eyes and just wanting to destroy the world that has wronged them, like Marlon Brando and the Wild Ones. And that's what we get from Ishin. And his wrestling was already great, in my opinion. It's just the added thing about his heel characterisms that have really put over the top. I can't look away when Ishin's on screen.
I don't know if I would say he's my favorite wrestler to watch in the promotion, but I'm with you on all of the praise that you just heaped on him. I think it's well deserved because, yeah, he's enthralling to watch because it's interesting. It doesn't feel like this character is fully fleshed out, and it still feels incredibly interesting, which is kind of rarefied air to be in. Normally, like I think about it a lot with, you know, a New Japan wrestler that goes on excursion, and when they come back, they get their big gimmick, and it doesn't always hit right away. And we sort of go through, well, if they're going to come back at Wrestle Kingdom, you know, that match isn't as good as we want it to be. New Beginning's a little bit better. By the time they get to New Japan Cup and whatever Invasion Attack is called now, okay, now they figured it out. Normally there's those speed bumps there, and they're there with Ishin, but not to the prominent degree that I think other wrestlers that have undergone a drastic gimmick change earlier in their career have experienced. I mean, it seems like it has room to grow, but it's still really good in the way that it's positioned. And I thought this match was really laid out in a clever way where you have Strong Machine J going after Mochizuki Jr., but you have Ishin going after Strong Machine J. And although there were those moments where it was two guys wrestling and one guy watching, I thought for the most part it was a pretty cohesive three-way match.
It was because the one guy watching was Ishin and he was being a vulture.
Yes.
Which, it was fascinating stuff. And you even had, like, the fact that, like, Masaki Mochizuki got involved and was in the finish. Like, they basically, junior and senior, butt heads. Ishin wins with a pin. Interestingly enough, the Dragongate official social media calls it a clutch hold. Other sources call it the Henka clutch. Which case, how are you on your sumo?
Non-existent.
So Henka is a move in sumo wrestling that is very frowned upon. It is seen as very distasteful and like it's seen as cowardly. It's basically a way to, without like getting into like the dynamics. Basically, you are doing you're being a bullfighter and you step out of the way of the bull. Gotcha. On the opening charge, and you win by them falling over. It's seen as very distasteful. So it's very fitting that him as a heel would have a pinning move after a distasteful sumo move based off his dad.
I love that Ishin's going after Strong Machine J's mask. That is a recipe for success because that's really happened twice this year. Once in this match, which I thought was super entertaining, and then the Dragongate match that I will continue to reference as one of my single favorite matches of the year that Eita, Kotaro Suzuki, and Nozawa Rongai versus KZ, Strong Machine J, and UT Dragongate match, in which they all went and bloodied Strong Machine J and tried to rip his mask off. And I just, as the year goes on, I look at these notebook matches that I have, and quite frankly, some of them blend together. I don't remember the details of all of these AEW matches that I loved. I don't remember all the details of some of these Dragon Gate matches that I loved. That match I remember. This triple threat match that I went 3.5 stars on, I will also remember. I thought there were some very distinct and well put together spots here.
Yeah, I was 3 3/4 on it. I adored it. This was just really nice stuff. It was cool things to see from the company. Okay, so it's time to talk about the match.
The match?
The match. The International Dream Tag Team match, as Dragon Kid teamed with Pro Wrestling Noah's Ninja Mac against the Absolute Boys, Shun Monte, the Sky Diamonds, Shun Skywalker, and Diamante. Ninja Mac won by a count out when they were doing the brawl to the outside, and Ninja Mac did a convoluted flippity-do to get back in the ring at the 20 count.
I don't know. We've all got our things we like and dislike. I think you and I are on the low end of this. It comes down to the fact that in the same way that I think Fuda could go and succeed anywhere else in the world, he's almost behind the 8 ball in Dragon Gate. I just don't think Ninja Mac is on the level of anybody on the roster. I mean, I don't want this to come across as offensive, but who do you think is a better overall high flyer, Kaito Nagano or Ninja Mac?
Well, seeing that they let Kaito Nagano wrestle entire matches, whereas Ninja Mac case, it was notable how little they wanted to wrestle with Ninja Mac in this match.
Yeah, Ninja Mac reeks of Wrestle Jam, doesn't he?
Yeah, and it's something that I'm trying to be careful about, because I don't want to sound like I'm outright just burying it. Case, when was the last time you've seen the Super Frankensteiner messed up in any fashion?
None that stick out in my mind.
So Ninja Mac almost completely just was not there, I guess. Did not know what was happening when this is a move that Dragon Kid's done for 20 years. And if you study Toryumon Dragon System whatsoever, you will see this move many times. And it was something where it looked like that Shun Skywalker was about to fall off Ninja Mac's shoulders onto the floor. It was scary.
I think, and it's not my cup of tea just because Ninja Mac does high flying. That is not really my cup of tea. But look, he's got a steady job in Noah. They seem to respect him there. And clearly he caught the interest of Dragon Gate in some way, shape, or form. I just don't think he's up to the standard of wrestler that Dragon Gate offers. And that is an insult, but it's also not. I mean, he's dealing with Shun and Diamante, who I think are 2 of the 15 best wrestlers in the world, and Dragon Kid, who is still as good as ever. He just
one
happened
of the
to
top 10 high flyers ever.
Oh, of course. He just Ninja Mac got a little exposed in this match, and that's kind of what I was expecting. I will say, Mike, I did warn you. I said, look, Ninja Mac's not coming here to take this fall, and they're not going to pin Dragon Kid, and I don't think they're pinning Shun, and I'm worried that they're going to pin Diamante. I would rather have this finish than him pinning Diamante, but this finish was still the drizzling shits.
Yeah, just the finish made this entire exercise a waste of time.
I think I would have rather them do a double count out.
Yeah, double count out, no contest. Just completely throw the match out instead of having something that felt completely undeserved. It was something that Diamante and Mac had a good section. It was something that was like, oh yeah, Diamante, of course. And then, the rest of the match happened. I really don't. It's hard for me to find more things to say about this match other than that finish was awful.
I think the people that enjoy Ninja Mac are going to enjoy this match. I came in not being a super big fan, and so seeing him be less than perfect with Diamante, I start to poke holes in him at that point. Not a Dragon Gate Junior. Go have fun in Noah. And so I think it's just a matter of, if you're a Ninja Mac fan coming in, I think you're going to enjoy this. If you're not a Ninja Mac fan, this is not the match that's going to win you over.
Yeah, and to be fair to Mac, when you're in the ring with those 3 guys, I mean, Diamante has wrestled these 3 guys 200 times a year since 2020. Shun Skywalker has faced Dragon Kid incessantly since he debuted in 2016. It was something that he was always going to stick out. It just was going to be something of how well could they hide it, and it just didn't hide it.
I will say the handspring dive that he does to the floor is spectacular. It gets me every time. I'm like, ah, damn, that's really cool.
Oh, incredibly talented at what he does. Incredibly talented at what he does. Like, don't get me wrong about that, but just stuck out. But
I wonder.
Oh, go ahead.
Like, what is his best case scenario? Is he like somebody that Ring of Honor should feature prominently? Because again, he's got a steady job at Noah. Noah seems to respect him. Ninja Mac Noah Superstar is just not. It doesn't resonate in my mind. It seems like there has to be a path for him, given his skill set. That there should just be something better for him, don't you think?
Yeah, like I was actually kind of surprised he didn't catch on AAA.
Yeah, that seems like a perfect spot for him.
Yeah, because like as you say, yeah, him and Noah, it works, but it's not working naturally. It feels.
No, it's there's Noah shows, and then Dante Leone and Ninja Mac show up, and it's jarring on a number of levels. But it just, you can't put him in AEW because you don't, in the same way that, he kind of gets exposed with Shun and Diamante, he'd get exposed with Phoenix, and I think even like a Dante Martin at this point, quite frankly. But I wonder if you just put him in a Ring of Honor, or if, I don't really wish Impact on anybody, but if you put him in Impact, if that's the answer, it seems like there's a place where you can really maximize his talent, almost like a 911 in ECW, where if you just limit him as much as possible, you actually maximize him. I want to sit down and think about that, because Noah's not the answer. AAA does seem like the answer, but if he flamed out there, then it's obviously not. He's such an interesting wrestler. There has to be something better for him out there.
Yeah, and I hope he finds it.
Yeah,
obviously very talented. It's a weird wrestling world right now, and some things don't work the way that you would think they would. The semi-main event case. There are 3 words in the English language that whenever I hear, I feel love. I feel full. I feel complete. And those 3 words are Captain's Fall Elimination. 3-way trios match here. So before the opener, they did the drawing. Daya, Minoura, and Hio are the captains. For those who don't know what a Captain's Fall match is, one person on each team is the captain. You can win basically 2 ways. You get a fall over the captain, or you eliminate everyone else on the other team, leaving the captain standing. So for those who didn't know, that's the style of match we had here. It was Minorita, the sole survivor of Gold Class, getting the pin with the Minorita roll. That's what he's calling the Yoshi Tonic on Hio, building up that Brave Gate match.
I think this is a gimmick match that should be utilized in every promotion. I mean, I think it's crazy that more promotions don't do Captain's Fall matches, and especially this one when they utilize the over the top rope elimination stuff. Like the way this match was laid out, I just thought it was all brilliant. I really, really liked this.
It's just something that you get to have more toys to play with. And you're allowed to think a little bit differently with a Captain's Fall match. And not in a way where like War Games match. I'm with Aaron Bentley. War Games, there's a formula and you can only fail the formula. Captain's Fall is kind of like, this is your new playpen. Go have fun. And I mean, they found a great way to build up Benkei and Yuki Yoshioka with this, with the way they got eliminated in it.
It was interesting. I don't feel like I've seen that from a Dragongate tag in quite some time, where they really carved out a portion for those guys to trade forearms and for the focus to really be, okay, this is the big title match coming up. And they do that, and then they end up on the apron, and Kai takes them both out, and that's how they're eliminated, which not only protects them, but it makes Kai look great. So I really like that aspect of it. I thought Kakuta, this is why I talked about Kakuta being a top 50 wrestler in the world this year, even with a limited profile. Madoka Kakuta was so fucking good in this match, it was unbelievable.
He came off like an absolute monster throughout it, and it was something that when you have that over-the-top rope just rule here. You get to have things like Benkei 30 seconds within the match trying to suplex Dragon Die over the top rope to the floor to eliminate him. Just crazy stuff. And it's just, and the last stretch when everyone was ganging up on Minorita because he was the only person standing on his team. That's like the goal that we always talk about when we talk about a Spans match. We got a little bit of that here. So why not do Captain's Fall elimination through a trios matches everywhere?
I went 4 1/4 on this.
I'm going 4. Yeah, I've talked myself into it. I was at 3 3/4 as of watching, but it's sticking with me in a way that I should have gone 4. I am now 4 on it.
Yeah, this was excellent. This is, if you have not seen this, these last 2 matches I think are these last 2 matches, and then that Ishin Mochi Jr. Strong Machine J 3-way, I think are well worth your time.
And if you like the absurd, just start and watch that international tag team match.
You can do that if you wish.
I mean, some of us like the darker stuff.
The dark arts.
The dark arts. I mean, hey, the first thing I did with my Steam Deck was, I can emulate on this thing. Let's see if I can get Bubsy going. That was the game before your time.
Mike, I got to be honest, that all went above my head.
Yeah, well, this didn't go above your head. The main event opened the Twin Gate Championship match. It was the champion team of KZ and Big Boss Shimizu of Natural Vibes versus YAMAKONG, reuniting with the mask as Yamato teamed up with Takashi Yoshida, the high-end assistant. Shimizu put Yoshida out with a shot put slam in 22 minutes and 21 seconds. This was the first successful defense for the Natural Vibes team.
Big match, Takashi Yoshida, get into it. 4 stars, Mike Spears. 4 stars on this main event.
4 1/4.
Really?
It was something that I think KZ and Yamato have really touch and go singles chemistry, but I was really liking how they weaved like their portions in there with the big boys. Like this was just like this, and then you came down and it was just Shimizu and Yoshida throwing bombs. Like, what's there not to love about this?
No, look, I'm with you. I really like the way this match was laid out because you're exactly right. It was pretty easily segmented into 2 different matches. It was Yamato versus KZ, and it was Shimizu versus Yoshida. And, over time, there's been eras of this promotion where Shimizu versus Yoshida would be a turn off rather than a turn on, but the build to this match has been outstanding, and their chemistry has been really strong, and it continued into this match. I thought this was great. I thought this was really, really fun and just a nice way to close out this set of shows.
And you know what's like a neat thing about this match, Case? It was the fact that you had YAMAKONG back, and Yamato was getting mad at his hometown, at his, I don't know what you call it, at his neighbors. He was getting mad at the fans for cheering for KZ and Shimizu, so he started working a little bit more heelish as the match went along there, just because he was irritated. I loved that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yes, we've unfortunately lived in the most uninteresting Yamato outcomes possible for quite some time now. But I love when he turns up the aggression a little bit like he did here.
Yeah, and it was just like, if this is the Yamato show, having an awesome YAMAKONG tag team match to finish out the show, like, bring us back to New Hazard. Bring us back to Real Hazard while we're at it. Just fun stuff.
Do you think Big Boss Shimizu is one of the 3 greatest Dragongate tag team wrestlers of all time?
So I was actually thinking about like big tag team wrestlers, like bigger guys, right before you said this. So easily number 1 is Naruki Doi, right?
Yeah, so possibly the greatest tag team wrestler of all time, period.
I mean, if Alex Shelley throws the roses at you, he's someone that would know and would know personally about him. But after Doi, then you get into like this tier, because I do put Doi above everyone else,
yes,
where it's like Yamato has the teams. I mean, Hulk has the teams. Like, there's a lot of people that have like the multiple teams. I would go Susumu too. Then we kind of are getting into who's your guy there for 3.
Okay, so Susumu has Kineska, he has Ryo Saito, he has Kagatora. Is there a 4th like main Susumu partner that I'm not thinking of?
Only his earliest is Uchi Kanda. They were at the tag team.
Man, I really hadn't thought about Susumu. That's a good pick for number 2.
Yeah, but after those 2, I think really it is, you can make the argument for Big Boss Shimizu, and I'll be like, yeah, okay, I believe you. You can actually, the person who I probably would put as 3, now that I'm really thinking about it, Eita.
So Eita's got T-Hawk, He's got Shimizu.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the
I think that highly of TNE.
Yeah, man, it's been a minute since I've watched Shioka and Eita matches. So okay, so
Go and watch Kobe World 2014.
one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So
Because like and like that match in of itself is kind of an argument there, because you have like guys like Akira Tozawa, who, if we're talking straight tags, it's him and Hulk and him and Shingo. But you take it out and like, oh yeah, no, there's a lot of times where you like see awesome tags with Tozawa and Ricochet, or Tozawa and Uha Nation, you know? So like it gets kind of hard to parse, I think, after the Mount Rushmore.
So let me go through a few names here, and this is just off the dome. Kind of help me figure out who their partners were. So Shima's a name that should be mentioned. He's got Osaka 06 with Gamma, which is a hit and miss team, but to your point about Eita, if you haven't rewatched or watched period the two T-Hawk and Eita versus Shima and Gamma matches from 2014, those are some of the best tag team matches I've ever seen. So he's got the Gamma partnership. He's got the Dragon Kid partnership. Is there a third main line Shima partner that I can't think of?
I've got two for you, buddy.
Okay.
Well, there's the old one that really dropped off, and that was on Fuji, the married team.
Yeah, I wish we had a more prolonged run of those two together.
Yeah, and then Spike Mohicans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
duh.
It might be Shima. Shima might be number 3.
Yamato has Yamato and Shingo, Yamato and Cyberkong, Yamato and Doi, and Yamato and Hulk. That's a pretty impressive 4-team run.
And that's Yamadoi.
Which, yeah, other than Speed Muscle, they're as good as it ever got.
Yeah, Yamato might... You see, you list out their cases, and I immediately go, yeah, no, they're number 3. But Yamato might... Because the 4 teams right there, and then the longest or the most defending Twin Gate champions of all time.
Now, BB Hulk, you've got Hulk and Tozawa.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Hulk and Shingo. Hulk and Yamato. And Hulk and Kai. I feel like I might be forgetting another Hulk one. He was a singles guy in Dia Hearts. He was a singles guy in Pos Hearts. He didn't really... I guess he was teaming with Shingo
and New Hazard, but
and Typhoon is actually what I was thinking.
Oh, yeah. True.
He doesn't really have a guy on World 1. So I think so. So again, the Hulk tag teams are Hulk and Shingo, Hulk and Tozawa, Hulk and Yamato, Hulk and Kai. I would comfortably put Yamato ahead of Hulk, and I think Shima ahead of Hulk.
I think that's
would
a good
you
top
agree
5.
with that?
Yeah. Just because.
Go ahead.
Just because, like, when you think about like Hulk teams, it really like Hulk and Akira does do a lot of that heavy.
Yeah. Now, okay, let me throw... I want to talk about Shimizu's case, but let me throw one other guy at you just because I could see it hitting a sweet spot for you specifically. Ryo Saito with the Bicycle Brothers, with Saito and Genki, and then with Saito and Susumu.
You know what would get him into the top 5?
What's that?
If any of those 3, other than Muraha Asapa and Ryosuke, like if Bicycle Brothers was like the 3rd team, but it had a belt and it wasn't a gimmick team, I would see the argument.
Yeah, I can't point to the best Bicycle Brothers match.
Well, all of them, first and foremost.
But then with Shimizu, and this is why I brought this up, Shimizu has the run with Big T. He's got 2 reigns as Big Ben with Ben K. He's got the Big E run with Eita. He's got the King Shimizu and Susumu Yokosuka run from last year, which was awesome. And now he's got this KZ run where, again, this was a 4-star match, and I thought their match against Hulk and Kai, I think I went notebook on that as well. I went 3 3/4 on that. So that's a really impressive resume.
Yeah, it's something where I think if you sit down and you look at the teams, you look at the belts, you look like, oh yeah, no, Shimizu's up there. It's just something that, other than I would say that that Maximum Big Ben run, it never felt like these tag teams were great and he's a phenomenal tag team wrestler, but like when you compare him to the rest of it, like you have Doi, who has Doyama, speed, muscle, just whenever he tags with anyone, it's brilliant. And you don't, but like those were his things for a while. It always feels like it was Shimizu, like, yeah, Big Ben, Big T, Big E. I loved Shimizu and Susumu.
That's the thing.
But-
That Shimizu and Susumu reign. Sorry to cut you off, but it's Shimizu and Susumu versus Ishida and Sakamoto. Shimizu and Susumu versus Ben K and Dragon Kid. Shimizu and Susumu versus the Strong Machines, which was Strong Machine J and Strong Machine K, which that wasn't great, but that was still pretty good. And then Shimizu and Susumu versus Hao and Kano before losing them to Doi and Yoshida at last year's Gate of Origin.
Yeah, that's true. I like that Kano and Hao match a lot.
I liked all of those matches, and the Strong Machines one was just okay, but even that had that was good enough.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think Shimizu is someone that, like, when you counting stats, Shimizu is, but like my personal feel just does not put him over that line.
I think I'd go Doi, Susumu, Yamato, Shimizu at this point. I would give Shimizu a nose over Shima, but I could be talked out of that if anybody in the Discord wants to make an argument for Shima over Shimizu.
All right, so my 5 is Doi, Susumu. I'm sorry, CK1 and Spike Mohicans are enough to make you number 3 in my book.
I keep on forgetting about Spike Mohicans. God damn, they were so good.
Yeah, then I think Shimizu might end up being 4. It's either him or Yamato 4, Shimizu 5. I'm happy with that.
Yamato's got that. I mean, some of those Yama Hulk matches were match of the year level, and I don't think either of us look at that as a legendary tag team, but they have some legendary matches.
Oh no, absolutely, for sure. And it just was something that, like, on a show like this, having just these phenomenal tag team matches, because like Yoshida deserves the credit. I know that it's something that there is the Cyber Kong singles match thing, but in tag team matches, really, with Yoshida, does not let you down very often.
No, at one point he had such tremendous go away heat with me during that post Cyber Kong Takashi Yoshida heel run. But I love him currently. I mean, I really think he's like a marvelous pro wrestler at getting the job that he needs to get done. And this was just another example of, in a match with 4 guys, he's going to be the 4th most talented, but he is the one that has just an emotional gravitas to his work that is unique to him. And it's really, really enjoyable in these big matches when it all comes to fruition.
Absolutely. So that was Gate of Origin. It was on the 18th. It'll be up on the network until Christmas Day. So you can watch this case immediately right before the final gate, of which we have a full card for. Would you like me to read through the card and we'll reflect on it?
I've got 15 to 20 minutes to preview it. Let's hurry.
All right, so opening match, Natural Vibes versus M3K. Entire M3K, Mochi, Susumu, Kanda Jr., KZ, Strong Machine J, Jason Lee, and Jackie Funky Kamei for Vibes. We have Class of 2022, Yoshiki Kato and Kaito Nagano versus Yoshida and Problem Dragon. Open the Brave Gate Championship. This is Hio versus Minorita. Lek Fuwarun Mask 8-man tag team match. Ultimo Dragon, Dragon Kid, Dragon Dia, Bokudamo Dragon. It's quadruple dragons case, and it's going up against Don Fuji, Kinky, Eita, and Ho-Ho Loon. Get that payday, Ho-Ho. Special singles match, Kota Minoura versus Diamante. They open the Triangle Gate championship match. Kai, Shun Skywalker, Ishin defending against Doi, Kondo, and Toru Owashi. Lek Giichiokun presents Shingo Takagi is back tag team match. Shingo Takagi of New Japan Pro Wrestling with BB Hulk versus Yamato and Madoka Kakuta. In the main event, Yuki Yoshioka defending against Ben K.
All right, let's start at the opener, and let's start at the opener. Let's rifle through these matches. I apologize to the listeners for cutting this a little bit short, but the holiday season is upon us, and I have stuff to do. But let's start with the opener and kind of rifle through some thoughts here.
Yeah, so no Twin Gate match, and it makes sense now that they're doing Bokudamo here, but This is an interesting thing that like you have like the whole vibes complement. You have the M3K complement. I mean, other than Junior maybe scoring a win here or getting beat up in a way, I naturally kind of my eyes go to Kanda eating a fall here.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this. I really hope this opener gets time. I want it to be a showcase for the Jason, Jackie, and Strong Machine J contingent of natural vibes, and I'm invested in whatever M3K does. So I think there's a lot to like in this match. I hope this is more of a 12-minute opener rather than a 6-minute opener, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, give this thing some time to breathe. Kato and Nagano versus High End Assistants. Be fun to see Kato facing off against Yoshida. That's kind of the thing I'm looking forward to, and seeing what Nagano pops out of his hat this day.
It's a really interesting match just because Kato has looked so strong that it makes me like this is one of those deals where if DraftKings took Dragongate bets, we would all be out of money on putting money on Kato here to pin Problem Dragon, because it would be so enticing. The odds would be so strong. Nagano's going to lose. He's going to get flattened by Yoshida, but I am so curious to see just how much they give Kato in this match, because you're right. He's going to square off against Yoshida, and he's probably going to try to put Yoshida in a torture rack, and if he gets him up, I'm going to lose my mind.
So I would set 3,000 to 1, which is exactly the kind of thing that I would put $1 down on and just freak out and be like, come on, Kato, do it.
It's not impossible, right?
No, it's not impossible. It's very, very unlikely, but it's not impossible.
It's Problem Dragon. He could pin Problem Dragon.
I mean,
I could pin Problem Dragon.
I could pin Problem Dragon.
Huh. Boy, that is gonna sit with me for the next few days.
Hyo versus Minorita. I know that you're thinking the title switch. I feel like they're making Minorita look strong so that Hyo can beat him and move on still.
The thing is with that, now you're exactly right in this. It's like, hey, Minorita's picked up quite a few falls in the build to this, which is something that I would look at as being a little bit concerning in terms of, who is actually, or in terms of him actually winning this match. But, Hyo's had a healthy reign with this title. This will be his 5th defense. He's beaten SB Kento, he's beaten Jason, he's beaten Dragon Kid, he's beaten Tiran Shisa. I don't have an immediate next direction for him. And I think this match is more about Minorita winning than it is about Hyo losing. Hyo's been a very solid champion. I've enjoyed his reign. But for all of the roses that have been thrown at Minorita, I think he gets that gold rose here. I think he gets his championship belt. It really is almost a thank you for the work that he's done over the first year of his career.
Yeah, it's something where I can't talk myself out of thinking that Minorita has... This is the most likely title switch on the show, I would say. Like, even though like we'll have a discussion about Yoshioka and Ben in a couple of minutes, it is something that I feel like that for Hyo, like maybe Minorita can outsmart Hyo. That I completely think that that's very likely. Minorita outsmarts Hyo finally. Hyo's the big brain is defeated and Minorita wins. Like, I buy that a lot.
Yeah, that feels like it's a good way for Hyo to lose, because the problem is that if he wins, UT's out, so they can't do that. I mean, he could be back by February or March, but UT's out for the time being. They haven't done Hyo versus Jackie, which is, very doable. But then you start looking down the card, and it's like, okay, well, who else does he have? Because Estrella's not coming back anytime soon, and SB Kento's going to be gone at least for, the first part of January, and Maria's hurt, and it's not like Tomonaga's going to get a title shot. It's kind of a small list of Bravegate challengers unless they want to move into the Kaito Nagano business, which for as much as I like him, I don't see that being the next move. Minorita freshens that belt up a little bit.
Yeah, no. And as you said, I think it's something that, given that you could say, and I think that you'd be right in saying this, that Minorita saved gold class. So,
I mean, I wouldn't want to know if that unit was just Minoura, Ishida, and Doi at the start of the year. I would not want to know the ruins that they would have just spread throughout this entire promotion. I mean, Minorita, it's insane that he's a rookie given the weight that was put on his shoulders this year.
Absolutely. The quadruple dragon match. They found a fun way to do a touch football match.
Yeah, this is fun. Fuck you if you don't like this.
Yep, absolutely. Minoura versus Diamante. Special singles matches on big shows. Case, will this one miss or this one continue the trend of 4 stars or better?
Look, I think this has to hit. I think Minoura's hungry for a big match. He has been so out of the picture since Kobe World, which I agree with, which thank God they did. But he has been so out of the picture since Kobe World. This is where they start to heat him up. Now, of course, you could go with Minoura getting the win, get him hot into the new year, and kind of build on that. But they've already done Minoura versus Yoshioka. I keep on telling you people, Diamante versus Yoshioka is a real possibility for a Dreamgate match. We spoke to somebody that is going to shows in Japan right now a few months ago, and we kind of checked in. We're like, hey, what's the deal with Diamante? Do people care about Diamante? And the result was absolutely yes. He could fill a small building Dreamgate challenge. They've got 2 Korakuen Hall shows coming up in January. Obviously, as we've pointed out a number of times, there's the trend of Dreamgate challenge of Yoshioka wanting to wrestle Dreamgate guys. But he's running out of Dreamgate guys. Diamante versus Yoshioka is a real possibility in one of those January Korakuen shows.
The Mexican national anthem playing in Korakuen Hall.
Oh, my God. I'm going 4 3/4 off that alone.
Yeah, no, this has the match of the year contender watches out case on this one.
Really?
Oh, yeah. With Diamante, with the kind of stuff that Diamante does with Minoura, when we know Minoura turns it on. This is something where, like I joked and said, the 4 is floor, or the floor is 4. The floor is probably really 4.5. Like, okay, so this ends up being a 4 1/4 star match. Won't you be disappointed?
That's kind of that's where my line is at. I'm kind of expecting 4 1/4. I think 4 would disappoint me. 4.5 would thrill me.
I have no comment for 4.5 thrilling you right there. Dragongate championship match. I the last caffeine I had was at 11 a.m. today. Kate.
Oh, I hit a wall about an hour ago. I'm powering through, my friend.
Yeah. We only got 3 more matches. Z-Brats versus T2P. Clear Z-Brats defense here. But what if Doi really wants to become the trio's belt collector?
That's an interesting possibility that I really can't entirely eliminate. I mean, it's Doi as a freelancer, but it's still Doi. Like, you can't cross that out of your mind. I think this match is going to be great. Don't let the haters and the losers and the people that aren't plugged into Dragongate ruin the fun of this match. This is Z-Brats a year into their unit, basically. A phenomenal heel unit all year. This is Z-Brats versus a T2P team, and that is fucking fun. Don't let people ruin the fun.
And continuing that fun case, Shingo and Hulk reuniting in the semi-main event against Yamato, Madoka Kakuta. Of course, like Shingo, all the attention goes towards Shingo now. And if you look at the poster, yep, makes sense. Shingo's front and center there, calling him the Dragon too. 5 years, or it will be 4 years, 2 months since Shingo Takagi has wrestled in Dragongate. I was asked a question that I wanted to, or this was like posed in the Discord. I expect to hear Shingo's Dragongate theme. Singlet or no?
I'm hoping for singlet, but I think realistically it's a no.
Yeah, like that's kind of where I'm at. Like, it would be very funny, and especially if he chooses the yellow Berserk one. Like pick the one that like only wore for 2 months and was the best gear he had, and he changed it. Oh my god,
it was so cool.
It was so good, just like bright yellow.
So, unfortunately, the result here is Shingo pinning Kakuta, right?
I mean, like, it's just a question of if it's going to be made in Japan or how many pumping bombers. And I would say he should eat like 5 of them.
I don't think I like that, but I think it's what has to happen. I would so much rather Kakuta pin Hulk, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah, Shingo is different from Ninja Mac, and Shingo will get his fall clean.
I think this is going to be excellent. I'll say that much. Again, there's no safer bet for a great match right now than Madoka Kakuta, and it's Shingo fucking Takagi. I mean, this is awesome.
Yeah, like, I don't have a lot to say to preview it because it's Shingo fucking Takagi back in Dragongate. Like if you know,
it's. I mean, you have you. There's no need to break this down, but it's it's Shingo and Hulk teaming. It's Shingo versus Yamato. It's Shingo versus Kakuta, who was I believe I saw a tweet from a Japanese account a few days ago that I believe was saying Kakuta entered the dojo in January of 2019. So that he had never crossed paths with Shingo, period. It might have been January of 2018. I don't remember. But nevertheless, they've obviously never wrestled before. I mean, Kakuta's only wrestled in pandemic crowds. He debuted in an empty arena. So there's just a million things to like about this match. But at the end of the day, it's Shingo Takagi, and that is what you should be excited about.
and that leads us to the Open the Dreamgate Championship match. Yuki Yoshioka making yet another defense against a past champion, but it's Ben-K, the one who called his own shot, the one who gave a special gift to him, who will not forget that Fujihaya was a thing, and I appreciate that. But Ben, but Case, I know you're a little bit higher on Ben's chances here, so give me the pitch for Ben winning this match.
I'm at like 75-25, and I think the pitch is that Ben-K is just more over than he's ever been in his entire career. Again, this match was set up on the same show that Shingo returned, and the Shingo pop was bigger, but not by much. This Chicky Ben-K thing is such a phenomenon, and I said this on the show last week, but it's funny because for most of Ben-K's career, I think it's the English-speaking audience that has been more into him than the Japanese audience.
And, much so.
And I just think there's people that don't realize how over this current Ben thing is, and you and I have spoken to people that are in the building at these shows who are going like, yeah, this is the thing right now. This is what everybody wants to be a part of. And I think it's incredible. I really can't rule him out of winning. I don't think he's the favorite. I think Yoshioka will retain. But if Ben hits him with a spear and pins him, I'll put it this way. It would be far less shocking than Kai pinning Yamato last year, and about 100 times less shocking than Doi pinning Ben 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's basically where I'm at. 1 in 4, 25%. That seems pretty fair. I like your argument about like he is the hottest hand, and honestly, probably the hottest hand the company has had since before COVID. Like
for as much as they want to do long term with Yoshioka, and I support all those long term endeavors, and I get it, and I think he's the guy, and he's showing at the box office that he's the guy. There is something about this time and this place with Ben-K and all of the gold chains and all of the charisma, adding the Dreamgate belt to his arsenal. It would just work. They are in a really interesting place here where they could get short-term gains or long-term gains. I hope they side with long-term, but I don't think Ben-K is the wrong move if that's the direction they go in.
No, I'm with you on that. I still think that like you're setting this up for Yoshioka, and you have the business reasons why not to take the belt off Yoshioka. And I think at the end of the day, they stay the course, but it would be interesting to live in a chicky world. And God, he better be like just the cameras better have to like reset their white balancing. He's that sparkling on the 25th.
He's the photos of him and Minoru and Minorita on Instagram. Just those three together, it is surreal to look at.
Just a bunch of deviants.
It's amazing. I really hope, no matter what happens here, I hope they continue to run with this Ben-K Minorita tag team. I'm not done with them in 2 versus 2 matches.
No, neither am I. But that will be the final gate. It's on the 25th. It's on Christmas Day. 5 o'clock p.m. local time in Japan, 3 a.m. East Coast, 12 a.m. West Coast, 8 Greenwich Mean Time. We'll be back sometime next week. We got to figure that out for both this and the last show of the year for Dragongate will be on the 27th, the traditional Kobe hometown farewell. So 2022 is almost over, Kay. So that you know what that means.
List.
Yep, lists. And we have a bit of a break. So probably not next week with Final Gate and stuff this, but during the Christmas break for Dragongate,
yes,
we'll be back with our best of 2022 episode.
Yes, we will.
And I think that's going to do it unless you have anything else, bud.
No, I got to run.
Yep, that will do it. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Thanks for joining us all year. And hopefully, however you practice, whatever holiday you celebrate, hope you have a nice holidays. But we'll be back with you sometime next week to talk to you about Final Gate and the farewell from Kobe. Take care, everyone.